Next up, we're going to take a look at a legendary hero from the British comics, a chap by the name of Dan Dare. This is another game that was released by Virgin Games and then re-released on Ricochet. In typical Ricochet fashion, the front cover is adapted from the front cover of the original game, but rather than take the entire artwork of the original release, they've actually just taken two key images from the front cover, i.e. Dan Dare and the Meon, and also plastered the logo on there. It looks quite decent actually, not a bad job. And of course it says Dan Dare, Pilot of the Future on the spine. And the back's got some screenshots of the game and very minimal blurb, which is fine by me, less to read. One of the most famous comic strip heroes ever becomes vividly to life in this superb arcade adventure. With your faithful companions you must defeat the Meon and save the Earth. And it's got a couple of quotes from magazines. Dan Dare is super cool game which deserves all the credit it gets. That's from Computer and Video Games. And another one there from PCW. Dan Dare deserves an immediate #1 spot. Here's the inside and the instructions of course, but what a botched job this is inside. Just look at those first couple of lines. Dan Dare was appearing on This Is You Life and all his friends there to speak glowingly of his achievements, but as moved forward to speak. Basically, this target thing on the Ricochet brandings cut off some of the introductory blurb for the game. Later on in the same paragraph, it's got a misspelling of universe, the universe d, and just really bad punctuation and so on. Really, it's just dreadful. So anyway, moving on, it's also got the controls and basic sort of information about how to play the game. Grenades are used to stun trees and destroy the Meon's dome. And you also get some information about what the kind of things you might get displayed on the screen. Bit of copyright info at the bottom there, and then inside more information about gameplay and loading instructions. Gameplay, you take the role of Dan, big surprise there. And then this page, this is something I've not seen before on any Ricochet releases that I can remember. A list of all the accolades that the game got when it was released originally. So you've got a Computer and Video Games hit, a Your Sinclair Mega Game, a Sinclair User Classic. Computing with the Amstrad gave it 10 out of 10, 94% from Zap. And Dan Dare deserves an immediate #1 spot. That's from PCW. That was mentioned on the back cover as well. So that's quite a nice little addition to the packaging. Okay, so here's the title screen. Very nicely done, kind of a old-fashioned sort of newspaper style. You'll notice at the top there, this is a Gang of 5 production. Gang of 5 was also the company that did Action Force, which we looked at last time around. Some credits there for who was involved with the game. It says there loading screen by Stu Jackson. Now this version doesn't actually have a loading screen on it. I think Mastertronic probably put a different loader on, possibly to load the game more quickly than the original. Who knows, but there was no loading screen anyway. There's also a high score table and quite a nice tune in the background, which suddenly finishes rather abruptly. And in a moment you'll actually see a preview of the game with captions, so it gives you some hints as to what you've got to do in the game and what the game's going to look like. As you can see, the aim of the game is to rescue Digby and the Professor, whoever they are. I'm not really a big fan of Dan Dare, so I don't really know. And you've also got to fire this laser through a maze of reflectors. And then it goes back to the title screen. So with that, we shall start the game by pressing fire. So here I am. That's me, Dan Dare, in the green suit. Walking around. He's got a bit of a peculiar walk, but he's reasonably nicely animated. Nice big chunky character. This thing that's hopping around is called Stripey, and that's Digby, whoever he is. That's his pet. I don't know what he's a pet. He looks possibly like, I don't know, a miniature elephant or a kangaroo crossed with an aardvark, who knows. Anyway, he bounces around and generally he's quite annoying. He's got this annoying bouncing sound in the background all the time, which gets right on my nerves, but there's nothing you can do about it, so we will carry on. What else can I mention about this first screen? You've got this sort of comic book style bit at the top there. Dan landed the Anastasia and set off to find the Meon. You're on the surface of an asteroid at the moment. And basically the idea of the game is you've got to, as you've just seen on that preview, make your way into the complex, rescue your friends, and then set a big laser to destroy something. Not quite sure what it's supposed to be. To give you access to the Meon and then kill him and then escape or something like that. And you've got a rather ridiculous time limit of 25 minutes to do all this in. As you can see in the bottom right hand corner there, it's 12:36. You've got until 1 o'clock to do this. I can tell you now that's not going to happen, but we'll do our best. So we'll have a wander around. Sound effects are fairly limited. It's just Dan Dare's plodding. This thing you can see on the screen here is a treen. They are the Meon's henchmen, and you can fight them. Fighting's a bit annoying and hit and miss. You basically got two moves, which is a high punch and a low punch, and you just do them by holding the fire button down, pushing up or down, and then towards the tree. As you can see, there's a kind of energy bar which diminishes as you fight him. It's really slow, boring, and to be honest, the best approach in the game is to avoid them wherever possible. I have beaten him eventually. So you wander around the landscape, and it's a flick screen arcade adventure. There were many of them back in the day. So I'm wandering around the, I don't know, what would you say, the immediate underneath of the asteroid. And here's a hatch. This will show you the sort of things that you can do to interact with the game. As you can see, it says at the bottom there, Dan is near a closed hatch. If you hold down the fire button, you get a box popping up, and if you move up and down, you can choose various actions. So Dan pulls at the hatch. Ouch, the hatch is electrified. Okay, so I need to find some way of opening the hatch. So if I wander down here, I've got another treen to deal with, annoyingly. The combat in the game is pretty dire. Dan is armed with his fists. He's also armed with bombs, which I'll try and show how to throw them in a moment. But given he's a space warrior or a pilot of the future, you'd think he'd be armed with a gun, really. It seems a bit strange. So you get another caption there, the branch lies on the ground. So you can pick up the branch. Luckily the enemies don't respawn, because that would be the end of the game for me, because it's so annoying having to fight them. So now if I now get the option to use the branch with the hatch, which makes the hatch swing open, and I can climb down this ladder. And down, presumably into the Meon's lair. Oh, but I knew this was going to happen, by the way. I ended up in a guard room and being overcome by treens. As it says there, game over, Dan was overcome by treens, and you get in the high score table. The high score entry thing, I quite like this. You've got this arrow pointing here, so you pick a letter and another one, and then you push down, and the arrow just changes direction to pick the two. Oh, I can't spell my own name. A little bit sensitive on the high score entry. There we go. And then choose end, and there's my name in the high score table. And back to the title screen, of course. So that was a brief introduction to the game. Obviously you don't try and get into the Meon's lair that way. Let's see if we can work out how you do. So first up, I'm back on the surface of the asteroid. Let's see if we can show you how to use these bombs. You use the bombs by holding the fire button down and pushing backwards, up right, or down right if you're facing to the left, to throw it at different sort of distances. So when I walk on the screen, you'll see a treen. I can throw a bomb, and basically what I've discovered is, more often than not, the bombs do no good whatsoever. Occasionally you'll be able to catch one of them, but it doesn't happen very often. And you do actually run out of them eventually, and you need them for later in the game, so no more of that. So like I mentioned, it's much easier just to avoid. So here you can see I'm in an underground cavern with some water. Graphics are quite nice overall. Movement of Dan Dare is a bit ropey at times. It's quite difficult sometimes to get on and off the ladders. But overall it's a pretty nicely put together game. Sounds a bit limited. So there's another hatch here. See if we can get this one open. Nope, it's jammed, so I need something to unjam it. So here I'm on a screen with some vines hanging down. As you can see, when you're on the vines, you get this little message pop up, a heart of vine, and that does give you some options. You can do nothing. You can cut off the vine. I'm not going to do it with that one because I want to get down to this hatch here. So I'm going to do it with this one. You cut off the vine and it vanishes. And you can go over to the other vine. And now I get the option to tie on a vine very nicely. But I just want to mention one thing here. Dan's obviously got the ability to cut off vines, so he must have a knife. So why the hell is he fighting these trees with his fists if he's got a knife to kill them with? Anyway, moving on. Here's another hatch. And this one opens when you pull it open. But walking down into this room, it's totally dark. As it says there, Dan can't see. Oh, there's an option there for Dan eats a carrot. Digby has all the carrots, okay, so you can't do anything there. So I'm guessing what we need is a torch. While I'm down here, there's something else to pick up here. Let's just grab that. Pick up the fruit. So here we are in a room with a, well, as it says there, a rather too narrow gap. But that does look like a torch on the other side of there. Now, I can't get through this. You can try and squeeze through, but my shoulders are too broad. Now, wouldn't it be useful if we could send this little guy through? Well, actually, you do get the option to call him. But he ignores you. Not very helpful. What other options have we got? Throw the fruit. Interesting. Oh, look, there goes the piece of fruit, which looks to be about half the size as it was when it picked it up. He's gone and picked it up. And he's picked up the torch. And he's given the torch to me. So he is some use after all. So let's see what else we can find. I now have the torch. So what can I see in this room down here now I've got the torch? Well, first of all, you've got to use the torch. And it doesn't light up a lot, but you can see just about in front of you. And down here, I have been here before, obviously you can tell I have by how I'm playing the game, let's be honest. So you can pick up some oil. Don't know what I need that for yet, but we'll soon find out, I'm sure. After a bit of a rearrangement of vines, I'm now on this screen here, and there's another hatch. Let's give it a go. Hatch is jammed. This is becoming a recurring theme of this game. Let's just have a wander around and see what else we can find. This is one thing that annoys me, is sometimes you'll wander off what looks like a perfectly good edge of the screen to go on to the next edge, and you can't actually get there. There's no sort of indication of where you can and can't walk in most of the cases, so that's a little annoyance. But overall, it's a very nice game. I used to love playing this game when I was a kid. I used to play it for hours. I never completed it, I don't think, and I suspect that won't happen this time because I'm already down to only having 17 minutes remaining. So I'm back at this screen with the water, and there's obviously some little reeds or bushes or something down there that I'm going to go and have a look at. I just want to mention one thing before I do that though, and that's what happens when you pause the game. Now you can actually pause the game by pressing any key you like on the keyboard, and it puts this the rather cool little to be continued thing, but as soon as you let go of the key, it goes off again. So how do you pause it? Well, the answer is there's one key on the Commodore 64 keyboard which locks itself down. That's the shift lock. So you press that, and once again you get to be continued, the game pauses and you get this music playing. But we don't want to pause the game, we want to play on. So if I have a little wander down here, first of all it says Dan can't breathe underwater, but there's some reeds here. So you can actually cut the reeds off and you now have a reed, and then when you try and go in the water you can use the reed as a snorkel. That's clever, isn't it just? And there he goes, wandering around under the water using his reed as a snorkel. So that's another cool little puzzle solved. And wandering along here a little, oh, Dan treads on something. Dan kicks to something. Ouch, it's hard. Dan picks it up. Ah, Dan now has a crowbar. Now where would that come in useful? So let's use the crowbar. Oh look, the hatch swings open. And off we go down, hopefully not into a guard room. Aha! We're now in the Meon's lair with some rather badly maintained ladders by the looks of it. I'm guessing you can't get down there. I'm guessing correctly. So let's go for one around. Aha! Now we have some ladders that we can get down further. And what happens if we go down here? Further still. So we've got the we're now in the interior of the Meon's lair, and we can navigate around a bit more. There's lots of trees to either fight or avoid. They don't fight back very much. I've got to say they're pretty easy to dispatch. You do tend to lose a little bit of health. You can actually put a guard up. So Dan is near a closed door. Dan presses the button. The door stays firmly shut. Don't want to try and use the crowbar on it just now, so let's see what else we can do. Oh, but look at that, top left corner, Dan gets a pass. Useful. Let's continue to adventure around. Oh, there is a door behind there. Also, the trees are very easy to avoid when there's a ladder in the place, because basically you can just sort of hang around on the ladder. They don't seem to detect you at all. Blimey, this guy's not going to take much. Oh, there's another pass. That's going to prove useful again. Oh, I can't get through there though. But that's two passes, bound to prove useful. We'll avoid that guy completely because my health's looking a bit on the ropey side. So now I can insert a pass card and the door slides open. Marvellous. We don't want to fight this guy though, really. Oh, I'm going to have to, it looks like. Annoying. It's a very big underground complex. He's done quite well to excavate this out of a meteor. Oh, look at this. I found the laser. How exciting. The button will fire the laser. Oh, let's give it a go. Oh, I've blown one of the little reflector things up. Okay, so we've got the chance to now use this reflector thing. I'm not entirely sure what for, but I'll have a wander around and see what I can find. So just a little diversion, and I've come into this room here, which is another one that's all in the dark. There's a door there. Deal with that in a moment. But down here is a prison cell with one of my colleagues in, I assume. So let's try and get in there. Pass card, open. And it says a tree is nearby, which is a bit strange because I assumed that was one of the guys I'm supposed to be rescuing. But never mind, we'll just leave him to it. Maybe that's classed as a rescue. Not quite what I was expecting, but there you go. So I've been wandering around this section of the underground base for a while, and I found this thing, which, having consulted the instruction manual, is a computer. And as you can see, there's a little hole there, and the idea is to turn all these little reflectors to send the laser into that hole and blow up the computer. So I'm going to try that now. Might take a bit of time. So while I'm doing this, let's talk about the game as a whole, which is a great little game. It was given lots of awards, as you probably saw on the instructions, and well deserving of them, I think. I think that should get it all geared up correctly. It is fairly difficult. There's a lot of trial and error. It will take a number of goes to actually get to the make any progress in the game. There's a couple of annoying things, which are the fighting, which is really naff, and this annoying little character that bounces around after you all the time, making an annoying bouncing sound. Let's fire the laser and see how we get on. I think I've got them all lined up right. Kaboom! Got it. One down, two more to go, according to the instructions. Let's see if we can find them. So this was as a re-release, presumably $1.99, as it was a Ricochet release, so well worth that money. I will just continue on. Not much more to say about the game other than it is a a classic from the Commodore 64 back catalogue, and undoubtedly worth $1.99 asking price. So if I've got my tilting of reflectors correct, then I should be about ready to take out computer number 2. Let's give it a go. Quite convoluted this, but there we go. Got that as well. That just leaves number 3. Okay, once again, this should take out computer number 3, which I'm hoping is going to open the door next to this computer. I'm not sure that it did though. I've got 5 minutes left to complete the game. I'm not sure whether that's going to happen or not. Let's just go and try that door though. Whether I took out the computer or not. Well, I did take out the computer, but did it? Ah, yes, the door's open. Oh, this could be quite interesting. What's going to run out first, time or my health? Okay, let's try this way. Oh, there he is! I've got no idea how to beat this guy now. The bombs aren't doing a lot. Oh, boom! I don't know what happened there. Oh. I think my energy's gone. Oh, I'm dead. Okay, well, I was defeated by the meon. I didn't quite make it to the time limit, but the meon wiped me out instead. A little bit annoying, but that's the furthest I've got in the game so far. Just showing that every time you play, you do make a bit more progress, especially if you work out how to solve the earlier puzzles. So in summary, quite a nice little game. As I mentioned, love the comic strip style of it. Only 2 other games I can think of that had that. One is Comic Zone on the Mega Drive, and the other was Batman the Caped Crusader. Both also great games, but I think this one pips both of them. Cracking little game, and definitely making it into my top 10 Mastertronic reissues.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
2, 1, 0.